Why men between 30 and 50 can't get dates with the right kind of women. My name is Meessen, and over the last years I've helped men from 11 different countries get a better dating life and find the right girlfriend and life partner. Again, I'm not about helping you just have sex with as many different women as possible. That's not what I stand for. What we're trying to accomplish here is give you the mindset, strategies, and techniques necessary in order to find a healthy, long-term relationship with the right woman. Because if you are a man who's 30 to 50 years old and you either have your own business or your own job, maybe you're a computer scientist, an engineer, medical doctor, you're an architect, whatever your job may be, if you're in that age range, your career is probably very, very important to you and you're spending a significant amount of time devoted to that. You don't even have the time to go and bang a lot of chicks over the next however many years because, to be honest, that's just a waste of time for you. What you want, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, you want to find somebody with whom you can maybe have a family or at least build something together for the long term. And the fact of the matter is that there have been plenty of reasons that have been preventing you from finding somebody for the long term. And there's only two things in terms of broad categories, and we're going to look at it in detail. One is confidence and the other one is communication. I mean, let's have a look at what your average week looks like. You're probably spending somewhere between 50 to 70 hours per week at work or devoted to your work, if I'm not wrong, at least on average. And maybe you do some sports, maybe you hang out with some friends or your extended social circle, but your social life is probably very much limited to your existing social circle or even in some cases just yourself because you're so focused on your career. Now, one of the biggest reasons as to why you can't get second dates with the right kind of women is because you can't even get the first date with the right kind of woman. You don't know how to use dating apps correctly. Maybe you've been trying it, but the right ones either keep unmatching you or they leave you unread. Or even if you get a match, you have a conversation and at some point she just flakes. She doesn't respond to you anymore and you're sitting there frustrated in the evening at home in front of your television or something and you're looking forward to the next message from Sarah on Bumble, Tinder and Hinge, but she just doesn't get back to you, okay? So you need to learn to get women onto the date in the first place. That's the first crucial strategy or rather the first crucial skill that you have to develop. Now, just getting them there is obviously not enough. Then once you're on the date, after you've met them, either on dating apps, Facebook, Instagram, online speed dating events, or in real life, in supermarkets, shopping malls, gyms, bars, or nightclubs, okay? These are kind of the sources, the 8P strategy that I've mentioned in the previous video that I'm teaching. Now, once you've gotten her onto the date, the real magic begins. Now, most men, most of my clients are high-value guys. I don't really like that term because it implies that there's such a thing as non-high-value guys, okay? Not high-value men. And when I use that term, because it is fairly descriptive and fairly accurate, even though I don't like it, I want to point out that value has nothing to do with your self-worth. You are not more worthy than another person. I'm not more worthy than somebody else. Just because you're probably successful in your job or your business, that does not make us more worthy. But value simply represents the value you're able to contribute to her, the kind of man you are. And remember, it's not about the money itself, it's not about the lifestyle itself, but it's about the kind of person you had to become in order to be able to create a lifestyle like that for yourself, or at least that degree of job security and certainty. Okay? There's certain attributes about yourself, like with most of my clients. Very smart, very logical, which puts them in their head very much, you know, ambitious, hardworking, sometimes maybe even a little bit impatient, you know. Like these are character traits of men who are ambitious, who are going for things. Now the problem with that, or the flip side of that, is that you can get so narrowed in, so focused on your career that other areas like health, fitness, or dating and relationships and finding a right life partner has not been a priority of yours, or you've tried, but you realize that it's a separate skill set. I've said it in other videos, but general social skills, you might be good at them. are a little bit like driving a car, and dating is like skiing. Okay? Just because you can drive a car, if you're standing on top of the black slope or black diamond slope and you're looking down, you realize, ooh, a completely different skill set is required to not just get to the bottom alive, but to have a good time along the way. So, what you have to do when you're on the date is you have to learn to communicate your personality authentically and effectively. A lot of my clients, when they're on the date, in the beginning when they start with us, and obviously we changed that quite successfully in a really short period of time, but most men in general tend to be very logical, especially in that age range, 30 to 50 years old. They get to the date, they're very logical because most of your communication is with other men. Even if you may have some female friends, most of your communication is happening with other men, and as men, we're very logical. We're extremely logical. For us, attraction is like a switch. We see a woman, we like her. We figure that out pretty quickly within the first couple of minutes. Looks, because remember, looks are a primary evaluation criteria when it comes to the selection of a mate for men, but for women it's only a secondary qualification criteria. In other words, looks are more important for men than it is for women. So as men, when we see a woman that we like, we know that pretty quickly. But for women, attraction is more like a dimmer. You know, it can be turned on gradually and turned off. So, I mean, look around. You've seen that plenty of times, right? That you see guys that are objectively just not that great looking, and they're also not millionaires. They're doing quite good for themselves. They're doing quite all right for themselves, but you don't see anything particularly amazing that would justify having such a high caliber woman on their side in terms of looks, personality, as well as intelligence. Well, what that man does better than you is he's communicating his personality authentically and effectively. He knows how to trigger emotions in her. He knows how to communicate the value of his personality to her. Now, the crazy thing about it is you are probably, nobody's ever told you that, but if you're listening to this video, you know, these videos are directed to a certain caliber of man. Okay? You are, objectively speaking, in terms of value, pure achievement, not worth. Worth is a different category. We all have the same worth. Okay? But in terms of like value as an objective criteria that we can assess, right? Financial success, habits, like how many good habits do you have, how many bad habits do you have, you know? We can group that fairly objectively. You are probably in the top 10, if not top 5%. At least in the top 10 to top 5%. If not more. A lot of my clients are in the top 1 to 2%. Okay? But it doesn't take that much. By the way, this is not just for people who are in the top 1 to 2%. But if you go globally, even just taking your unfair advantages into consideration, if you've grown up in the United States or in Germany or in the UK or wherever, or in Canada, even by that, you've been granted a huge unfair advantage. If people grow up in different countries in Africa, for example, they just have a much tougher time even getting to your starting point. Your starting point, your shittiest starting point in your life, man, that's somebody else's greatest dream, okay? But taking that into consideration, the habits you have right now, right? The job success, the business success you have, the person who you are, and by the way, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect either. We're all flawed. I have many flaws. You probably have many flaws as well. But if you were to draw a net positive, calculation, am I contributing a net positive or a net negative to the world? You are far on the side where you're contributing a net positive to the world and you're just doing objectively pretty well. Okay? Now the problem with that is, or the funny thing about that is, you don't know how to communicate that. You spend time with other men, you get extremely logical, you get into your head, and then you expect women to respond to a similar kind of logical stimulus, whereas women react to emotions, okay? That's why being on dates is all about leaving your entire life behind and being present and understanding that the context is so different. Okay, you have to be able to get it to an emotional level, and there's thousands, not thousands, but there's plenty of techniques that we teach in depth in my coaching programs to my clients that can help you really get to a point where you can just turn attraction on in a woman, not like a switch, but like a dimmer, pretty effectively and pretty fast. If you'd like to know how to do that in depth, apply right now for a first free coaching call with the link underneath this video. And I'm looking forward to designing a step-by-step plan together with you how you can achieve or how you can find somebody who would be a fantastic life partner for you. Okay? So, going back to that, you have to drop into silliness. You have to become more playful at the date. I know that a lot of the success or financial stability that you've been able to achieve in your life came from you being very serious at times, very logical, and that's great. And you're going to keep them, okay? In personal development, Ken Wilber talks about integration. You want to integrate all of those things. But just being logical, just being the warrior, if we take the 4 archetypes, right? The king, the warrior, the magician, the lover, just being the warrior, it's not going to work well. That's just not going to fly in a social context, in a dating context. If you want to be successful on the date, you have to get the lover. So you have to create a man-to-woman connection, which is intimacy, tension, sexuality, eye contact, body language, all of that has to be on point. But you also have to be more silly, okay? I'm talking to so many men every single week from so many different countries in the world. I'm in a very privileged position where I have, like several hundreds of thousands of people who are consuming my videos online, like every week, every month, So I have a huge amount of interactions, not just in the comment sections, but on phone, in live calls, in group coaching calls. And I've been able to detect a lot of patterns over the last years. And if you talk to that many people, that many men, even though they're all special when it comes to the gifts they're sharing, and they are unique, they're not unique in their problems. You, my friend, are not unique in your problems. Okay? Now, the problem is that we as men oftentimes put significance, Tony Robbins calls it significance, over love and connection. Like, we're oftentimes willing to sacrifice honest connection to other people for feeling special. For us, it's more important to feel special than to get genuine connection. That's why we oftentimes cling on to anything that makes us special, even if it's our problems. And I'd like to invite you today to reconsider the idea that your problems are special. And we all think that, and I know it's hard. I know what it's like to be in a relationship, for example, that you don't want to be in. Some of you will have been married before or even divorced. I mean, taking the financial implications of a divorce completely aside, which would more than justify any kind of coaching program I could ever offer you, the emotional stress and the loss of life quality you're going to endure when you end up with the wrong kind of person, my God, you don't want that. You better start putting in a little bit of effort. You better make the decision to find somebody because it is a learnable skill set. So, coming back to it. First of all, you have to learn to get dates with the right kind of women. Learn the strategies. Learn to tap into all of those channels that we've discussed in the previous video, right? Then you have to learn to communicate your personality authentically and effectively. And the next part is, I teased into it a little bit, the man-to-woman connection, intimacy. Now, a lot of that is verbal, and a lot of that is, well, half of that is verbal. The other half is obviously non-verbal. Now, a lot of mindset issues have to be solved in men for them to be able to create a man-to-woman connection on the date. I speak to a lot of guys every week in calls, in group coaching calls, and even one-on-ones, where we realize that they're really not comfortable with creating that degree of connection in the beginning. And that's completely understandable. I used to not be comfortable with that either. In the past, I've been in this personal development coaching thing for a long, long, long time. I was teaching martial arts as a child, and then while I was in university, at my university as well, teaching karate at my university. And like, I've been in this teaching personal development thing for a long time. And I used to use the coach and the trainer as an excuse to not have to create intimacy in the conversation. So what I do instead of maybe being respectful and kind, but going ahead and maybe kissing her or building a little bit of physical contact, obviously respectful and kind, I would just go and help her. I'd help her with all kinds of things. I'd jump into the helper role. She would tell me stories about other boyfriends she's been with. She would tell me stories about, I don't know, family problems, and I'd go into the coach role. And if there's one thing I can tell you that women don't want you to be, they don't want you to be their coach. They want you to be their man and lover. And you can see how my vibe changes. Even the way I talk is very different because communication is context dependent. Doesn't mean that you change yourself. Doesn't mean that I'm fake. But we all have the warrior, the coach, the lover, the magician. These are just 4 archetypes. There's many more metaphors we can use to describe different parts in us that are represented in different areas in our brain. Okay? Gunther Schmidt talks about priming a lot. We can prime different states. And when I'm on a date, the way I communicate is very different. Now, I don't always talk in an overly sexy way, like I just came straight out of a porn movie. Now, it doesn't have to be quite like that. But sometimes it's a bit like that, you know? Get a bit more grounded. Eye contact. On point. But then I'm also sometimes silly and I laugh a lot. Then I'm serious. You have to be able to show all these sides of your character without being needy. Your task throughout the date is 1, make her aware of your value. You have to learn how to project your value in the conversation. Okay? That's your primary thing. You have to build your value throughout the conversation. And then you also have to create a degree of trust. Because these are like at a very high level, the 2 core components when it comes to attraction. There's value and then there's trust. She has to become aware that you're a high value guy and that you want her, but that you don't need her. That's really the sweet spot. Now there's a lot of technicalities. We could go into a lot of depth here right now, but that would kind of go too far for a bit of a YouTube video here. But at a base level, what you need to do is get dates, get women onto the date, and then communicate freely. Go from logic to emotions, okay? I'm teasing into a lot of areas here because I want you to become aware that there is a matrix, okay? There's patterns that I've detected from men from 11 different countries that I've worked with one-on-one or in group coaching scenarios, and it's always the same. There's only 2 kinds of clients that I'm helping. Right? The ones who are already getting dates, but just with the wrong kind of women. Oftentimes these men have been married before, maybe not. Or men who struggle getting dates at all. Okay? But both lead in a very different direction. That's what this coaching program is designed to do. It's designed to help you find somebody who's right for you by getting dates with the right kind of women, by learning qualification criteria, by becoming aware of what you really want, by expressing your personality more raw and yet calibrated. Okay, you have to learn how to you have to learn how to create connection. You have to learn how to make her want you in the moment. And when I say make, it's never make, because neurologically speaking, you can never make a woman feel anything. Right? There's a lot of coaches out there. Now, a lot of them are fantastic and are doing great work. A lot of them are doing fantastic and great work. But there's some of them out there that are just weird, okay? Idiots. I'm never going to name them, but some of them are idiots. Some of them are doing great work. Some of them are idiots that are talking about making her do this, making her do that. You can never make her do anything. And when I say make, I don't mean from a moral perspective. Obviously, you shouldn't even try to make her do anything. But neurologically speaking, I can never make you feel anything. Unless I were to scream into the camera right now, that could involuntarily provoke a reaction in you, but you can never make a woman attracted to you. Now, it may seem like semantics, because it may mean the same thing, but the meta-level attitude is different. Obviously, we can do things that increase the probability to 99% or 90% or whatever, that she will feel attraction. There's psychological triggers that we can hit very strategically in order to create attraction in her. Not to manipulate her, but simply to create enough interest in her for her to want to get to know the real you. For her to want to meet you for a second date. For her to want to be your life partner and support you on your journey, on your mission, maybe even have a family together. Okay? And then the last point is you have to learn to move things forward. And moving things forward, again, is when am I okay to kiss her? When is the right point in time to maybe ask her to go home with me? Obviously in a respectful and a kind way, always. You have to learn to read her signals, okay? Non-verbal signals as well as verbal signals. For example, one of the, a great indicator of interest is the fact that she laughs about bad jokes. If you make a joke and you realize, well, that joke wasn't actually that funny, but she's still laughing, that is a very good sign that she's highly emotionally invested. Because throughout this whole date, it's an act of you investing and giving her space to invest. Okay? I actually made a TikTok video today where I responded to a girl's story. She said something along the lines of, if you stop showing interest in her, then only the toxic ones will chase you. And she's a great person. I had a brief look at her profile. She seems like a fantastic person. But I not really disagreed, but I'd like to add a little bit of nuance to her statement. Because a lot of men, one of the things a lot of guys do wrong is that when they're on the date, they show too much interest. They show her too much interest. They make it so clear that they would drop anything they have going on in their life right now and try to have sex with her, or try to at least kiss her, try to make her part of their life. And this attitude, that mindset, manifests in so many different ways. That's why this thing says coaching and consulting. I'm not sure if you can see that. The coaching is the individual, one-on-one, or in a group format, but we have to be able to detect your mindset issues, because when you speak, when I hear you speak, I'm able to derive your blueprint. Because remember, words don't just strengthen, strengthen basically your reality. And you say something and then you in turn believe what you said even more, but it also reveals your blueprint. And oftentimes you have mindset issues that you didn't even know you have. I'd say 60-70% of my job, other than teaching strategies and techniques on how to create attraction and how to find the right partner through qualification and all of that stuff, is solving mindset issues. For example, this was last week, a client of mine, he said to me, David, what exactly happened? Something along the lines of, I was supposed to have a date tonight and she canceled, okay? And then she said, well, I guess I'm gonna just go to sleep and watch Netflix. And I said, well, why don't you have 3 or 4 or 5 other numbers at the moment, right? Because you have a lot of options. First step is getting options, the right options, not just any options. And why don't you just invite the other ones? So it was like 5:30 and the date was supposed to be at 7. Like dinner. Oh yeah, exactly. He said, I have to cancel the reservation at the restaurant. I have to cancel the reservation at the restaurant because she canceled, I don't know, last minute, like 2 hours before. And I said, why don't you just invite some of the other girls that you were supposed to meet either on Friday or on Sunday? Why don't you just invite her for now? And he goes, I can do that? I was like, yeah, you just send 5 messages right now saying, hey, meeting got cancelled, which is not a lie. It's honest, right? Being honest, by the way, I'm going to at some point make an individual video about the importance of honesty, but what honesty really means. Because being honest does not mean not being effective. Being honest means being honest, 100%, but it does not mean not being effective. And we'll talk about that in the later videos. I'll explain to you all about what honesty means. So he says, okay, dinner got cancelled. What am I going to do? I said, well, why don't you invite some of those ladies, some of those girls? He sent out 5 messages and one responded immediately and he had a fantastic dinner. That was a successful date. He didn't even realize it was possible. Now this is just a minor mindset issue, but there are large mindset issues that have been preventing you from finding the right girlfriend and life partner. And I'd just like to encourage you to start taking this serious. I mean, are you worth it? Like, serious question. Are you worth it to have a relationship? And I would propose the idea that unless you're a serial killer and you're gonna create tremendous harm in the world, and the chances are quite low that you are that kind of person, you are. You really are. Why would you not give yourself that gift? And by all means, you don't have to book my coaching in order to do that. Like, it is by far the fastest and most effective system in the entire world, believe me. Okay, now obviously have I seen all of them? I haven't. But it is just proven by client results. But you don't have to do that. The most important thing is that you start taking action, because the time is ticking. If you've watched this video, you're a man who's 30 to 50 years old. And I mean, just do a quick calculation. What's your time worth, you'd say? If you take your salary or how much profit your business makes and you divide that by an hourly basis, obviously it doesn't make sense, just for a hypothetical calculation here. What's your time worth? How many more evenings do you want to spend alone or in the wrong company? How many more holidays do you want to spend with the wrong person? How many more years do you want to spend without children? Just seriously ask yourself that question. And yeah, you might not need a coaching. Maybe you can figure it out in 5 or 10 years. It took me a really, really long time and thousands and thousands and thousands of interactions, okay? Not just with women, but also with clients, okay? So not thousands of clients, like a significant amount of clients, but I want to be honest, I have not had thousands of one-on-one clients, a significant amount, but not thousands. So thousands and thousands of interactions with women, and a significant amount of, I have to check, of clients from 11 different countries at this stage who we've been able to help get a better dating life and find the right girlfriend and life partner. And if you want to know how you can do that for yourself, then just apply for a first free coaching call, completely free. During that call, we're going to take a look at your individual situation and we're going to see if it makes sense for you to join this program. I mean, in this call, we're going to draw out a plan based on your situation because everybody's situation is a little bit different. We're going to analyze the first mindset issues. No matter what, you're going to leave that call, whether you decide to book the coaching or not, completely up to you. But you're going to leave that call with insights that you haven't had before. I promise you that. So, if you're somebody who's serious, then I'm looking forward to speaking with you and helping you on your journey to finding the right woman.